Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jessalynn, and I have a bun on top of my head that makes me just want to do this. I don't know why. I have done these intros like 100 times today, and for whatever reason, I just want to shake my head. I don't know. Anyways, so today I decided I was going to talk about ways to save money on groceries. So it is that time of the year where saving money is important because we got to do Christmas shopping. And one of the easiest ways to save some money is through groceries. My first piece of advice is do not go to the store hungry. Because if you go to the store hungry, you're going to get a bunch of junk you don't need. And let's be serious, you don't need to buy all that junk food and things that are readily made because you just feel like it. Let's just not do that. And let's just go ahead and be full before we come to the store. That way, you don't get tempted to buy a bunch of things that you don't need. My second piece of advice is to don't buy brand name. Brand name items are always more expensive, and they're always going to put that eye level on the shelf. Make sure that you look up and you look down. That bottom shelf usually is the cheapest, or that higher shelf is usually the cheapest. So the easiest way to find some savings is to stick away from that name brand and look at the store brand or off brands to make sure you get the same thing. I mean, it's technically the same thing, and doesn't really make a huge difference. There are some items I will splurge on, but like things like, canned beans, canned items, I'm not going to spend the extra money on. Like, I usually don't buy a ton of canned items unless it's like diced tomatoes and stuff like that, or spaghetti sauce and stuff like that. I don't usually buy a whole bunch of like readily made stuff. Usually I buy cheaper stuff and then remake it. But things like canned tomatoes and stuff like that, for instance, there's no reason I'm going to go ahead and buy the expensive brand when I could go ahead and save myself, $1 or more just by going with the off brand. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it that way. Number 3 would be to go ahead and shop the sales. Make sure that you know before you go in what sales are going on during that time. One of the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and look at the sales before you go in, because you need a game plan and you need to make sure that you at least have a week to 2 weeks worth of food before you go in there. It's just the easiest way to go about it. For me, in my area, I have 4 stores that I go to, 4 stores in my area that I can really go to. I've narrowed it down to 2. I've narrowed it down to those 2 because they have the best deals. They're easier for me to shop at and I enjoy them more, but they offer a lot of, perks. Like, so for me in my area, we have Kroger's, which is like, what is it, Dillon's and other areas? Anyways, it's easy for me to go ahead and do Kroger's because then I also get money on gas when I spend money on, my groceries. So that's an easy way to save money too, is I save money on my groceries, which means that it goes towards my gas, and now I save money on my gas as well. So it's like a double win. So a lot of times I do Kroger's because it does have multiple ways that I can earn money and save money. So the next thing I would do is I would say make sure that you eat vegetarian a few days a week. A lot of people think that you have to have meat in every meal, and it's not true. Honestly, it's not. And for me, I don't really care either way. I like to eat meat, but I mean, I wouldn't be that upset if it went away, type of thing. So like, it doesn't bother me. But like my husband, oh my God, if he doesn't have a huge piece of meat in the middle of his plate, he's upset. So that I have to work extra hard to try to find ways to make sure that he doesn't notice that there's not meat on his plate. We like Mexican food in our house, so one of the easiest ways for me is to go ahead and make things like burritos. So I'll make bean burritos that usually would stick beef or something in. So I'll use like refried beans. Well, I'll make my own refried beans, which is super simple. But and I'll show a recipe at some point for it. But I would say I use the refried beans and I squish them up, add a ton of flavor. Like, I'm talking about a ton. So he wouldn't even notice if there was meat in there or not. And then I add a whole bunch of other things. I add a lot of cheese. I add a lot of, I'll add pico de gallo, I'll add guacamole, I'll add lettuce and all sorts of stuff, hot sauce, all sorts of stuff. So he won't even notice that there's meat or not on there. But guess what? I saved myself a ton of money by not doing it that way. Because meat, believe it or not, is super expensive. And unless you just buy ground beef and you just do ground beef for everything, it's expensive. And I get so tired of ground beef all the time. So what I do is the easiest way for me to do it is to eat vegetarian a few days a week. I'll have some vegetarian meals coming, and so you should look out for those. I'm going to start doing videos on food, so I'll try to do like some cheap meals, some easy meals, stuff like that. Another good way to do it is if you are going to eat meat the whole time, make sure you shop the sales. I said shop the sales before, but seriously, meat is the hardest thing because it's the most expensive. You can buy fruits, vegetables, grains, all that stuff relatively cheap, and it would fill you up. But if you think you need to, you have to have, some sort of protein. So if you're going to do the meat, make sure you shop it. So let's say, for instance, you go to the store, you find out that there's a sale on, chicken, and it's $2 a pound. That's usually pretty average for it, but let's say it's on sale for like $1.80 or something. You're like, oh, wow, that's great. Buy a whole bunch. Just plan that a good, $10, $15 is just going to go to that chicken. And make it so that you know it's going to stretch. So for us, I'll cut up my pieces of chicken into smaller pieces, and instead of, you have chicken breasts that are like this big around, they're like a whole pound by themselves. Don't give the whole pound to people. You only really need a small portion, so I'll split it in half, and now that's 2 portions for, out of a pound, so it's a half a pound a piece. You're going to get full off of it, and you're not going to realize that you didn't have a whole pound. So split that in half. That saved you a ton of money because now you're not eating as much. It's just an easy way to do it. And make sure that you freeze what's ever left over. Buy it, freeze it, and now you have it for the other weeks. Now you've gotten yourself set up for a few weeks. And if you keep doing that every week, that's the way to go ahead and do it. Another really great way to do it is to shop in bulk. I am a Sam's Club member, and there's kind of controversy on it. I don't know if it really saves me a ton of money, but it does save me in the long run because I have set myself up for success. So for me, when I get a little bit of extra money, let's say I have like $500 extra one week or something, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I buy $500 worth of meat, frozen vegetables, and things that I know that I'm going to use. So for me, I'll go out and I will buy a whole cart full of meat. Now I don't have to worry about meat at all for the next like 6 months because I have bought so much meat that we don't have to worry about it. And I do this all the time. I do this twice a year pretty much, and I have gotten myself set up to the point where I don't necessarily have to buy meat every single week. And that's usually what I buy. Is I usually buy meat in bulk, and I usually buy things like diapers and wipes and stuff like that in bulk as well, just so that I can save money. Ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, stuff like that. And I buy that in bulk because it will save you money in the long run. So buying in bulk, also a great idea. Now, one thing I will save money on is rice. We eat a decent amount of rice in my house, and minute rice is expensive. It just is. I mean, it's not too bad, and if you want to use minute rice, go ahead. But you can buy a big bag of rice for like $1. Now, I don't know how much minute rice is, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of expensive because I think I went in there the other day and it was like $5 for a big box of minute rice. Well, it makes pretty much the same amount. So, like, why not buy just the $1 bag and get a variety of different types? Get brown rice. Brown rice is a little bit nuttier than plain white rice. Do things like basmati, do jasmine, do different things. It has different tastes and textures a little bit, and you're not going to realize that until you try it. Minute rice just doesn't have that same sort of nuttiness that real rice has, and there's a million different ways you can make rice that you can't just use minute rice in. So you don't realize that until later when you've actually started making real rice, and it takes I don't know, it takes about 30 minutes to make, 30, 45 minutes to make rice. And I mean, you can make it so good. Like for me, I'll do a whole recipe on it and kind of show you what I do. But like for me, I put a little bit of butter in a pan and I'll put some, I like garlic a lot, so I'll do like garlics and onions. And I'll put it inside the pan and I'll kind of sweat it down and make it yummy, right? I'll put the rice in there and I'll toast it up. If I'm using like white rice, I'll toast it up really nice and it'll get like a nice light brown color on the outside. And then I'll add my liquid. Now I have an extra layer of flavor that you wouldn't just get from minute rice. So that's one of those things that like you could save money and make better tasting meals than if you just use pre-made stuff. I mean, obviously minute rice is kind of a bad example because it's pre-made. It's not pre-made, but it is it's convenient is what I'm trying to say. So one thing I don't necessarily recommend is coupons. It's kind of like you could do it as you please, but I found that I end up spending more money than I actually need because I don't really use the coupons, or if I do use the coupons, it's on stuff that I wouldn't normally buy. I know during the summertime, I tried to go like full-blown on coupons. Well, the coupons I was finding were things like ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, ice creams, and stuff like that. Well, for me, since I've said before that I buy in bulk, I don't need those things, and so it's kind of pointless for me to go ahead and buy them. So now I'm just buying things that I don't need. Ice cream, I'll buy every so often, but if you've ever noticed when the coupons, they're not giving you the cheap, like store brand ice cream. They're giving you that like Blue Bunny, or they're giving you a super expensive that's like $6 a gallon, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not really saving any money that way, and it just doesn't make any sense to do it that way. So you're going to spend more money with coupons than if you were to just buy things that, you know, you actually need. Because you're going to look at those coupons and be like, oh, well, that looks good. And you're going to buy it and you're going to be like, crap, I didn't even need that. Why did I do that? Now you just spent money on it and you don't need it anyways. So coupons for me are pointless. I don't understand why everyone uses them, but they do. Another good way is to make sure that you skip the deli. Deli is expensive. It's super uppriced and it's just ridiculous. I don't understand why. I mean, obviously it tastes good, but you don't really need it that way. I mean, if I'm going to do lunch meat, I'm just going to go buy the cheapo type because it doesn't really make that much of a difference to my family. I try to make sure that it doesn't have weird items in it, but instead of me spending like $10 a pound, I can just go ahead and spend like $4 a pound and, you know, get the same sort of thing. So hopefully this was explanatory because I was kind of worried that it was going to be kind of crazy. Anyways, if you like these type of videos, please like and subscribe and keep a lookout because I'm going to have all sorts of good videos coming up here shortly. So push those buttons down below. Push the bell, push the subscribe button, all that stuff if you really want to see some good stuff coming up. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye!